Buford versus Suwanee, two of the most sought after suburbs in North Georgia, most sought after suburbs of Atlanta, and they're both fantastic. They're both great places to move to, both great places to raise a family, both great schools, both got great houses, both got great things going on. But there is one definitive winner. We're gonna get down to the bottom of it right now. Kick it off. Welcome to Versus. All right, so this is Steve with the Malone Home Team, EXP Living in North Georgia page. Today we're doing Versus. Haven't done this before. We talk about doing it. We take a swing at this right now because we're going to talk about two cities that a lot of folks choose when they move to the area, whether they're relocating to North Georgia or relocating within North Georgia. Buford and Suwanee are always two of the bigger suburbs of Atlanta that people choose, but which one's the better one for your money? That's what we're going to talk about today. I mean, first of all, in the comments, as we go through and we start talking about all the different rounds that we'll go through, and the rounds we'll go through, we're going to talk about, schools. We're going to talk about parks. We're going to talk about shopping and entertainment. We're going to talk about all this stuff. Talk to me if you live in Buford or in Suwanee and say, that's not true, or say, that's absolutely true, or whatever it is you want to say. And then when we get the final winner, I know you'll have an opinion about that at the end. But keep this in mind, Suwanee, Buford, there's no wrong answer. I've lived in both. Lived in Suwanee for about 14 years, lived in Buford for about 8 years. They are both fantastic places to raise a family. They're both fantastic places to live. There's a lot going on around the area, and the reality is what Buford doesn't have, Suwanee has. Suwanee doesn't have, Buford has. And they're right next door. So even if you move to Suwanee, you're gonna spend a lot of time in Buford doing stuff. And then vice versa, you live in Buford, you're gonna do some stuff in Suwanee. But for your dollar, what's the better place to live? That's what we're gonna discuss today. Those are the two cities. You got Suwanee, all right, 20,000 population. You got the town center in the middle where you got all the festivals and everything like that. Home value is a little bit higher than what you have in Buford. But Buford, what you have is you've got the crazy schools that everybody talks about in Buford. You've got all the shopping in and around the Mall of Georgia. Population about 17,000 or so. They're pretty close in that, but they are two distinctly different cities. So as we go through the 6 rounds, ranking which one wins and kind of putting a little weight on those, at the end we'll come up with your winner. Buford versus Suwanee. 6 rounds to determine a winner. Let's go. So here we go. We're doing round 1, Buford versus Suwanee. We're going to talk about schools first. And with schools, it's a no-brainer. To me, Buford wins this one hands down. Let's look first at the big school, and then we'll look at the secondary schools that go along with it. All right, so first the big school. You're talking about in Suwanee, North Gwinnett's probably the school it's most known for. It is a top 10 school in the state of Georgia. It is a fantastic school. You ask me to find something wrong with North Gwinnett, I can't. It's an amazing school, all right? And in the Gwinnett County cluster, it is one of, if not the best high school in the cluster. When you look at some of the rankings, again, now, these are not my opinions. These are all based on rankings that we've seen online. Do your own research. I'm not telling you what's a good school or a bad school. That's not my job. But I'll put all the links below for greatschools.org. That way you can do your homework and figure this out. But according to all the research, North Gwinnett is a fantastic high school. Top 10 in the state. Against Buford, Buford's like number 1 in the country, according to some online publications like niche.com, things like that. Number 1 in the country. People come from all over to try and get into the Buford City School District, okay? It is well known. So the big daddy, Buford versus North Gwinnett, I think Buford wins. Then when you look at the secondary schools, Buford also has Seckinger High School. Just opened a couple of years ago. It's the state's first AI-themed STEM school. Very highly ranked. Also feeds into Lanier High School down on the south side of Buford. That too, starting to be more highly ranked on greatschools.org. So you've got great secondary schools as well as the big daddy at Buford High School in Buford. I'm not saying that Suwanee doesn't have good schools because they got great schools. They've got North Gwinnett, they've got Collins Hill, they feed into Peachtree Ridge as well. But when you look at the apples to apples, oranges to oranges, when you look at one versus the other, I don't think it's a competition. Round 1 goes to Buford. Round 2, we're talking about home prices, okay? Where are you gonna get the best bang for your buck? Now, we're gonna look at it a couple different ways, all right? One of the ways is, where are you gonna get better median prices? Buford. Buford's median home price is just a hair under $500,000 over the last 12 months. You compare that to Suwanee, theirs over the last 12 months is about $625K. Okay, so $500,000 on the median for Buford, $625 for Suwanee. So you're more likely to get a more affordable house in Buford than you are versus Suwanee. All right, that's number one. The other thing to keep in mind though is Suwanee over the last 3 years has gone up much more in value. They've gone up about 16% in home value over the last 3 years. Buford, 10%. To that I'll say it's been a wonky market the last 3 years. So the news is they both are up. Yes, Suwanee's up a little bit more, but within that, certain price points are a little off. I think once the market stabilizes, I think they're both going to go up pretty similar. So I say that to say, I think it's more important where you're going to get in a more affordable house. Like if you're coming in and buying a first house in the North Georgia area, what's the best bang for your buck? Probably Buford. Now here's the kicker to keep in mind. If you are moving into the Buford area and you're looking to get a house in the Buford High School district, that's not a median. That's around 500. That's a median that's much higher. You're going to be up in the sixes at least, I would think, if you're trying to get into the Buford High School district. But that being said, you can still be in Buford, being one of the school districts that we featured just a couple minutes ago, and still, be in that median price point right around 500 in Buford. Suwanee, like we talked about, that North Gwinnett cluster, even though the median is 625, that North Gwinnett cluster is going to be a little bit higher than that than it is for some of the other spots. So just keep that in mind. But we say all of that to say, if you were going to pick a winner for home values, what makes the most sense from a home value perspective? Buford wins round 2. All right, now before we move on to round 3, while we're talking about homes, more than 70% of the people that watch our videos watch it on TV. So is that you? Are you watching us on TV right now? You're eating a bag of Cheetos, aren't you? Right now. I got eyes. I see through the TV. You got Cheetos. I'm not judging you, man. Eat your Cheetos. Here's what I'm going to have you do, though, because a lot of times we put stuff down in the comments and people don't make it down in the comments because they're watching on TV. So we're going to put QR codes on the screen. Over my one shoulder, go check out Buford. These are homes in the Buford area right now that are in that, we'll call it like 400 to 800 range. And then same for Suwanee, in that 400 to 800 range. In those maps, you can adjust it if you want. But just to get you real quick looks at what's going on in the area, that way you don't have to dig on the, dig in the description through the TV or whatever. Scan it with your phone. It'll pop right up. Get in there, take a look at some homes that are for sale right now in Buford and in Suwanee. So those are new constructions, those are existing constructions, all that stuff. That's stuff that we help you with. So keep that in mind. If you're moving to the area and you have questions, this is our backyard, man. Give us a call. We'll get you going. We'll answer any questions you have about the area. Let's go. All right, round 3, the location commute battle. Which one's a better place to be if you got to consider commute, got to consider commuting all over the place? We're going to give this one to Suwanee, okay? Why? I mean, the main reason is obvious. The two cities are right next to each other. Which one's close to Atlanta? It's Suwanee. You're going to take Interstate 85 to get into town. Interstate 85, you're going to get off at exit 109, 111 type area. So that's Old Peachtree, Lawrenceville, Suwanee. Those are the Suwanee exits. Go a little bit further to get to Buford. You talk about potentially all the way up to exit 120. That's the Hamilton Mill exit. Okay, so in traffic, you're talking about the potential to be an extra maybe 30 minutes a day in traffic for just that little bit. Sometimes it'll be maybe 15, 20 minutes, but sometimes 30, 40 minutes. On average, we'll call it 30 minutes. That's like 2.5 to 3 hours a week. That could be upwards of 150 hours a year that you spend extra in traffic living in Buford versus Suwanee. Now, let's say you wanted to go down Peachtree Industrial, or you want to go down Buford Highway, one of those other kind of thoroughfares that's along the interstate, but that we don't have to go down the interstate. Well, even those are even worse when you consider some of the traffic and everything that get enveloped in there when you go down through Suwanee from Buford, all right? You're better off just starting in Suwanee and bypassing a whole bunch of that traffic, okay? So they're right next to each other. Then when you talk about like on the weekends getting around, I mean, you're just gonna have a little bit of traffic here and there and everywhere, and it really doesn't matter where you live. But when you're talking about the main reason why people are gonna move to the area is because of Atlanta and needing proximity to Atlanta, Suwanee gets the nod on this round. So round 3 goes to Suwanee. We now move on to round 4, talking about community, we're talking about safety, okay? So let's talk about community first and talk about safety. I'll be honest with you, I'm gonna give this one a tie. I think that they both have done a really good job. Community-wise, I'll start with that. Community-wise, I think in the Suwanee area, there's a community around Suwanee, around the town center area. There's a big community around the North Gwinnett High School cluster as well. All the stuff going on with North Gwinnett, I really think that they've built a really good community there. And I think when you pair that with all the festivals and everything that they have downtown, I think it's a really cool community. But then when you balance that out against Buford, anybody who's in the Buford High School cluster will tell you it's different. it's just a different family feel to it. Like between all the parades and all everything that goes on with there and the games, and there's just something about the way that Buford comes together as a community. So while they might not have necessarily all the big festivals and everything that Suwanee has, I think community-wise, I think because they're so tight-knit around, around that Buford community, around the Buford High School community, I think I'm going to give that a push. When it comes to safety and crime and things like that, now keep in mind, I'm a realtor. I cannot tell you, hey, this is a safer area than this one. I need you to do your own research, okay? But I think if you do your own research, you're gonna find out that these two areas are pretty similar. And I mean, they're very family friendly. They've been on top of family lists on all kinds of publications all across the country for places to move like forever, okay? Both of these spots, Buford and Suwanee. So again, I'm not saying that they're completely crime-free. Do your own research. But that being said, you asked me which one do I think is a little bit better or not? I think they're both pretty awesome cities. When it comes to that, again, don't quote me on that. I didn't say that. Do your own research, okay? I'm not telling you that it's crime-free. I am telling you that these are kicking little towns in Suwanee and Buford. I think either one of them is great, and the community around each one of them is great as well. All right, we just wrapped up round 4. Before we get into round 5, just one more reminder. If you have any questions about your home search, give us a call. I'm gonna put the phone number down below. So call us, text us anytime. We'll get back to you. Let's start planning, whether that's in 2 days or that's in 3 years. Now's the time to plan. Let's come up with a game plan of when do we get pre-qualified? What are we looking at? What area makes the most sense? Whether it's Buford or Suwanee, one of the other suburbs around Atlanta, or it could be Atlanta itself. You could be downtown near Atlantic Station or something, or down in Midtown or whatever. Where do you want to move? Let's talk about it. Give me a call, the number below. Text us or call us there. Let's come up with a game plan. Round 5 of the showdown. Now we're talking about recreation and parks. Okay, so between Suwanee and Buford, who gets the nod? Who's got the better recreation and park system? I'm going to give this one slightly to Suwanee. Suwanee's got the Suwanee Greenway, okay, which is several miles long. It connects several parks along the whole path. It goes all the way down to George Pierce Park. George Pierce Park is over 300 acres. You got soccer fields, you got baseball fields, football fields. You got all kinds of walking trails within the park itself, but then it connects to the Suwanee Greenway, which really cuts all the way through Suwanee, connects to Suwanee Town Center. You just have a better park system. Yes, Buford has parks. They've got Bogan Park. Bogan Park's got the aquatic center there. But in Suwanee, they also have Collins Hill. Collins Hill has an aquatic center as well. You've got Lake Lanier. You got a lot of trails along Lake Lanier. You've got the water park there on Lake Lanier. You've got a lot of stuff going on in Buford, okay? But I think that when it comes to a design standpoint, I think that Suwanee had a better idea when it came to connecting all this and really making more of, if you like nature, if you like getting out onto the trails, if you like being outside, everything's kind of built around that in Suwanee. I think they had a better design of that. Like I said, Buford is not to say that they're bad, okay? This is a very close one. But I would give the nod to Suwanee. Now, here's the thing I want you to keep in mind is, like I said, we've lived in Suwanee, we live in Buford. Suwanee's right around the corner. And if you're Suwanee, Buford's right around the corner. I mean, it's a quick drive either way. So it's not like you're missing out on anything by living in one of these spots. And that's why I'm not weighting this one as much as some of the other ones. But you ask me who's got the better recreation and park setup, it's close. But in my opinion, based on some of the stuff that we've been reading and studying, we're gonna give the nod to Suwanee. Last round, round number 6, we're talking about shopping. We're talking about dining. We're talking about entertainment. This one, I hate to say it, this one's pretty easy. Buford wins this one. Why? We're right here. We're at the Mall of Georgia. This is kind of the epicenter of everything. But when you think about what Buford has, you've got the mall, and you've got all the crazy restaurants and everything around the mall. Some of them, yeah, they're kind of the big chains kind of stuff. You got Cheesecake Factory over here. You got P.F. Chang's, you got all kinds of stuff around the mall, but you've got all these, you get away from the mall, you get into the downtown Buford area, you got some really nice restaurants downtown. You got Rico's, you've got Main Street Deli, you got all kinds of stuff. You got 37 Main down there on the strip. You got Bare Bones. You got some really, really good restaurants in Buford. Not to say that Suwanee does not, and not to say that Town Center does not, but Town Center, while they do have restaurants, it's kind of a limited amount. Right? They've got the same ones that have been there for a while. I think it's cool that they've been there for a while, but they've been there for a while. You got a lot of options here, not only at the Mall of Georgia, not only in downtown Buford, but also at the Exchange, which is just over on the other side of 85. near Top Golf and the Andretti Speed Lab and everything. You can do all that here too. You got so much stuff to do. So when it comes down to entertainment, you got so much stuff to do here in the Buford area. And then you factor in, the fact that the lake's right there too, and you've got restaurants on the lake, and you got things going on there. I mean, that's an easy one. So round 6, that one goes to Buford as well. So here we go. The winner, Buford versus Suwanee. As you saw, we had 6 rounds. Buford won 3 of the rounds, Suwanee won 2 of the rounds, and then we had a tie. But we talked about earlier, they're going to be weighted a little bit differently. It's not just 3 versus 2, Buford wins, let's go home. There are different weights to some of the rounds, okay? What were the ones that I weighted more? I weighted schools and I weighted home values a little bit higher. And Buford won both of those. So not only is it 3-2 Buford, but they also won the 2 most important rounds, which are the rounds 1 and 2. They won those. So to me, based on everything that we studied, based on everything that we looked up, all the videos that we watched, all the blogs, all the everything, talking to people, and like I said, I have lived here, I would give the nod. If you're moving to this area, I'd give the slight nod to Buford. I'm gonna say again, you can't go wrong with Suwanee, all right? They're right next door. They're both great cities. But Buford versus Suwanee, when you weigh everything, the way that we did, and you put a weight on it, and you put values on it, things like that, Buford comes out slightly ahead. Am I right or am I wrong? Down in the comments. If you're Team Buford or Team Suwanee, sound it out. Let me know if I'm right. Let me know if I'm wrong. If you're moving to the area and you have more questions, down below in the comments. Let's jump in there, have some conversation about what's going on. While you're down there, like and subscribe to the video, because we're going to be doing more of these city tours, more of these verses, because we're talking about all the different suburbs. We're doing all kinds of crazy stuff coming up to end this year and the beginning of next year, and I want you to be a part of it. So subscribe so you find out right away when we upload, okay? Also, like we talked about earlier, if you want more information about houses that are available in both Buford and Suwanee, we have a link to both cities down below. Click on those. This is Steve with the Malone Home Team, EXP Living in North Georgia page. We'll leave out of here with a look at some of our home tours. A lot of these home tours have been through Suwanee. Some of them have been through Buford. They've been all over North Georgia area, but you can binge watch those. Take a look at some of the new construction around the area. Appreciate your time. Take care. Bye.